2244 BC, 1651 AM. Lamech, father of Noah, dies at age 777. Many righteous people still holding to the elder faith begin dying, the Creator allowing for the demise of those that believe in him in those days before the deluge, so that they should not see the evil which he had declared to come. Noah chooses the three daughters of Eliakim, the son of Methuselah, who is the son of Enoch, to marry his three sons, Japheth, Shem, and Ham. These were Enoch's granddaughters, and Noah was married to Naamah, Enoch's daughter. Because of escalating violence, Noah moved his family to a place appointed in the wilderness to escape the giants, Nephilim. God instructs him on the designs of a massive wooden structure designed to float, a ship, and Noah begins the 5-year-long project. Noah is commanded to make the ark the length of 300 cubits, the breadth of 50 cubits, and the height of 30 cubits. The architectural dimensions of the ark are no different than those of the Great Pyramid, encoding chronometrical timelines relative to mankind. The ancient royal cubit equals 20 pyramid inches, each pyramid inch being a year within the chronometrical timelines. Thus, 300 cubits is 6,000 years, the duration between man's banishment in 3895 BC to his redemption in 2106 AD. The width of the ark at 50 cubits was 1,000 pyramid inches, a millennium, exactly 1/6 the length of the ark, 6 being the number of man. The height of the structure at 30 cubits was 600 pyramid inches, a great year or Anunnaki Ner, the age of Noah when the flood occurred. The Great Pyramid is the height of a 40-story building at 5448 pyramid inches, or 454 pyramid feet, but the ark is 6,000 pyramid inches longer, and if stood on end it would be 552 inches higher than the Great Pyramid. The flood occurs at the end of a 552-year cycle in the Phoenix Chronology, and the subterranean chamber width under the Great Pyramid is 552 inches. The ark had 3 decks and was so capacious that it could carry the loads of 500 railroad boxcars. Noah is remembered as the Sumerian Utnapishtim, Xusuthrus of Babylon, Manu of ancient India in Sanskrit and Vedic texts, Bochica of early America, Deucalion of Greece, New Wine Sailor, and Nereus in the Aegean, Fuhi of China, and Koch in Mexico. 1 Genesis, 2 Jasher, 4 Josephus, Antiquities, Book 1. 2239 BC, 1656 AM. This is the year of the Great Flood, an event remembered by every culture on this planet. There has been recorded over 1,000 flood traditions, and their similarities are very stunning. The oldest Mesopotamian tablet inscriptions found, the Karsag tablets, describe the flood. Hebrew and Jewish tradition relate that the deluge occurred in the 1656 year of the pre-flood calendar, as we see here in the Annus Mundi dating. Augustine, over 16 centuries ago, wrote that the flood occurred in the year 1656. This sum, 1656, is 12 orbits of planet Phoenix at 138 years each, or 4 cursed Earth periods at 414 years each. 1656 is also 3 Phoenix cycles of 552 years each. The flood disaster is mentioned famously by Pindar, Ovid of Rome, Lucian, Apollodorus, among many others. The Chinese believe that the Great Flood actually marked and caused a major division in time itself. The calendrics for this terrible year bear this out. This is the 3000th year of the Anunnaki Chronology, a year when judgment is executed against them and their Nephilim offspring, which are killed off the face of the earth. 3,000 years is 5 great years of 600 years. This was the 70th year since the destruction of the pre-Adamic world, or 15 orbits of Phoenix at 138 years each, or 414 times 5 years. Since Earth entered its new orbit around the Sun in 4039 BC, it had been 1800 years, or 600 times 3. From 3439 BC, when the Anunnaki descended to Earth at the Passover of Nibiru, it had been 1200 years, or 600 times 2, 432,000 days. This was 600 years after the reign of the 7 kings began the Anunnaki dynasty over the Sethites. Thus Noah was 600 years old, and his wife Namah 682. The Anunnaki matriarch began her rule over the Canaanites 670 years earlier in 2909 BC, and the Sethites laid the foundation for the Great Pyramid, which was designed to survive the deluge 666 years earlier in 2905 BC. The Giza complex was finished 576 years, 144 times 4 before the flood. The Black Age of the Kali Yuga, having begun in 3103 BC, saw the rise of the Nephilim powers of the Anunnaki and decay of spirituality. The flood ended the total presence of Anunnaki and Nephilim hybrids on Earth, as the flood cleansed the planet of their pollution, reflected in that the deluge was the year 864, foundation of time number, implying a beginning of the Vedic calendar. 7 days before the deluge, planet Phoenix was seen entering the inner solar system, growing larger and larger in the sky from the direction of Venus. Phoenix transited between the Earth and the Sun, casting our planet in shadow, darkening the Sun. The world turned upside down, night turned to day and day to night, and destructive earthquakes shook the foundations, crustal plates of the world. The Tractate Sanhedrin 108b reads that 7 days before the flood the sun set in the east and rose in the west, and the Book of Enoch also mentions a pole shift and quakes at the flood. The Babylonian records called the Atrahasis epic reads that for 7 days and 7 nights the torrent, storms and flood came on. In the Persian Zend-Avesta texts, the flood was associated with the sudden appearance of a strange star. Before the 7 days began, Noah had loaded the ark with all the necessary water and provisions. The ancient book of Jasher relates that the Creator caused animals of mammalian and some avian species to gather around the superstructure, and they allowed Noah and his sons to take their cubs and young into the pens of the ark. Noah just finished collecting the pups and cubs and livestock when people began gathering around the ark. He shut his family inside of it, and as it began raining, about 700,000 people surrounded the ark. But the people were refused admittance and rioted when Noah reminded them of the years of his preaching and prophesying that they had ignored. The masses of enraged and panicked men and women assaulted the structure in what became the Battle of the Ark. The Jasher records indicates that God enraged the hearts of the animals that had delivered their young, and thousands of wild animals set upon the rioting people. Mighty men, giants Nephilim, vicious women and angry men, fought to enter the ark, but the sons of Noah from atop the structure fought them valiantly, while the animals and the people fought one another. The storms increased and they flee to find shelter. Sumerian records attest that just prior to the 40 days of non-stop rain, the entire world shook violently, and the far horizon turned black with clouds. Rabbinical records indicate that the deluge was caused by the falling of 2 stars. These 2 impacts mirror what is described in the Revelation account during the Apocalypse. See 2046 AD and 2048 AD. Phoenix transits between Venus and the Earth, which led to much ancient confusion. We have records from archaic chroniclers that they thought Venus was responsible for the catastrophes that all occur with the Phoenix orbit years. These will be seen in 1687 BC. The meteoric impacts that caused the flood were not fragments from Phoenix, which merely blankets the Earth in millions of tons of cosmic dust, darkening the Sun in an envelope, but from the ancient Earth-killer comet group. This comet group originally fractured off of Nibiru and entered its own orbit of the Sun of 396 years, half of Nibiru's orbit, just finishing its 330 years below the ecliptic on its elliptical orbit. Now it begins its 66-year, 792-month journey over the ecliptic. As the past is a predicate for the future, the sun darkening of Phoenix precedes the impact of 2 gigantic meteoric objects, just as described in prophetic biblical records.